Hello everyone, today I will be sharing with you some of my favorite fairy tale retellings. This video is a paid promotion with Disney Book Group, celebration of the release of Part of Your World by Liz Bramwell, which hit stores today, September 4th. Part of Your World is the 5th book in the Twisted Tales series, and this book asks the question, what if Ariel never defeated Ursula? It's been 5 years now since the infamous Sea Witch defeated the Little Mermaid and took King Triton's life in the process. Ariel is now the voiceless queen of Atlantica, while Ursula rules Prince Eric's kingdom on land. When Ariel discovers that her father might actually be alive, she finds herself returning to a world and a prince that she never imagined she'd be seeing again. But you guys, I love a good fairy tale retelling. I've read a few and there's still a lot that I haven't read, but the bottom line is I love a good fairy tale retelling. I don't know when they have a spin on it, when they have a different twist, and I've also really been enamored with the Ursula ones. There's been a slew of them recently and I just love them because Ursula is like one of my favorite Disney villains because she's just so interesting. I kind of find her more interesting, dare I say, than the Little Mermaid. I know that's kind of weird, but I just love any book about Ursula I will read, so I cannot wait to check this one out. Like I said, this just hit stores today on September 4th. If you're just interested in awesome fairy tale retelling, I highly recommend checking out this book and her whole series. I know she's done other ones within this series that focus on different fairy tales. So either way, be sure to check this out. Now, since Part of Your World is a fairy tale retelling, I thought it was long overdue. I've been planning to make this video for forever, but I just never feel like when I do recommendation videos that I have enough to recommend to you, but I thought let's just go ahead and do it. And today, so I'm going to show you some of my favorite fairy tale retellings. Now, disclaimer, I haven't read all of them out there because there's a lot. There is a wide array of them, so these are just some of my personal favorites. So the first ones I have to say is probably going to be on a lot of people's list, and understandably so, and that is the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. So the Lunar Chronicles is like a sci-fi spin on different fairy tales. So there are 4 books that comprise of the Lunar Chronicles. The first one is Cinder, where it's a retelling of Cinderella. And she is actually part android, and it's very interesting. I really enjoy it. And then after Cinder, we do follow Cinder the character throughout this entirety of the series, but as the series progresses, each book introduces a brand new character. So at the end of the series, you kind of get them all immersive and together, and it's just an awesome time. So first one focuses on Cinderella, like I said. The second one is Scarlet, and this is a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. So we have 2 new characters that we're introduced to, is Red, and then we also have Wolf. You guessed it, I really enjoyed this one. And then my favorite of the series is Cress, and this is a retelling of Rapunzel. So it's all about her, and her name's Cress. Obviously all of the names are in the titles. And this one introduces Cress and Thorn, my favorite one in the series. And the last one we have is Winter, which is a retelling of Snow White, if you couldn't already tell. And of course, we have a new character, Winter, and we have another new character as well. So either way, if you're looking for a awesome fairy tale retelling series that you can just binge, I highly recommend Lunar Chronicles. I read these a while ago, and they're still some of my favorite reads because they're just so... I love the characters, I love the world, how it's sci-fi, how sometimes it's on another planet, it has a lot to do with the moon. It's just a really fresh new take on fairy tales, which I always enjoy, so highly recommend these. Speaking of Marissa Meyer, another book I want to recommend to you by her is Heartless. Heartless is the retelling of the Queen of Hearts. So I'm sure you've all heard of Alice in Wonderland and the classic fairy tale kind of classic that it is, but we mostly focus on retellings of Alice, but this one takes a twist and it focuses on the Queen of Hearts. More interesting enough, it's about the Queen of Hearts before she became the Queen of Hearts. So in this book, we follow our character named Kath, who is a baker, and she loves baking, and she loves living in the world of Wonderland, and she basically has to marry the king, and then things happen from there, and it's about her path of how she was a really sweet, beautiful girl, and then how she became the Queen of Hearts. I really enjoyed this one. It's a standalone, so in case you're not wanting to dive into a 4-book series, understandably so, you can just read this one. You'll have a complete arc, which I really enjoy as well sometimes. I love series, but I also love a good standalone, so I really like this one. It was whimsical. It will make you want to bake all of the things ever. Really enjoyed it. Moving into the contemporary genre, I have Geekerella by Ashley Poston. I read this book last year, and I fell in love with it. This is a modern day retelling of Cinderella, if you couldn't already tell. And in this one, it's like a fangirl twist, which I also really appreciated. So we have have our main character Elle, who's really invested in this fandom called Starfield. It's like a TV show that her and her dad used to really love, but her dad's passed away, so she's kind of continued on his legacy. And Starfield is actually being remade into a movie. A guy that gets cast as her favorite character, she does not agree with this. So she makes a blog and she's like, I wish they wouldn't have cast this guy. And then the actor sees it, and somehow, long story short, they meet, simply without knowing they know each other, kind of the Cinderella thing, and it's just a really cute modern day retelling of it. I adore this one. I recommend it if you're just looking for something cute and fluffy with just little notes to Cinderella within it. Like, they have their food truck that she works at is called the Magic Pumpkin. And it has just so many little nods to Cinderella, which I loved so much. And if you're a big fangirl, you would highly appreciate this book because it's about her going to a convention and being involved in this fandom and loving a fandom so deeply. So I love this one. I love a great Cinderella retelling. And dang cute. I just can't express that enough. Our Cinderella retelling is a middle grade one, and that is Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. This is one of my very first favorite books. Harry Potter was #1 in my time when I was in middle grade, but then I read Ella Enchanted and I loved that book so much. I still don't own it yet. I read it from the library, never bought it. I need to remedy that, but it's very loosely retelling of Cinderella. We follow main character Ella. Ella has to do basically what everyone tells her to do. If somebody gives her a direct command, she has to follow through with it. Stepmother abuses that, her stepsisters abuse that, and Ella's just an amazing character that can't really live her life. And it's kind of, I don't know if it's a darker middle grade book, but I love it so dearly, and I need to reread it because it's just a great middle grade book, and I recommend it to anyone who loves fiction in general, and if you love middle grade. And I don't read a ton of middle grade, but I love this one. It's a very loosely version of Cinderella, but I just love it so much that I just have to talk about it. We have A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This one is kind of iffy on the fairy tale retellings aspect, but it is a very loosely based version of Beauty and the Beast. I'd say the first one more particularly. I think it really kind of, you get the Beauty and the Beast vibes from this book, but as the series progresses, it kind of just goes off from that. So I'd say if you really want like Beauty and the Beast, all Beauty and the Beast, the first one probably the only one you need to read. But I really enjoyed this one. The first one is not my favorite in the series. It's the second one, but it's about a main character named Feyre who lives in a world where there is fae, and she accidentally kills a fae, and she has to be brought to a mansion and be held like kind of prisoner as her penance, and she kind of falls in love with the Beast, Tamlin, and things progress from there. This is a new adult book, I would say. It's marketed as YA, but it should just be new adult because there are some steamy moments in it, also a lot of physical violence, things like that. But either way, if you just love all things Beauty and the Beast, I would recommend it for that. But if you just want all things Beauty and the Beast and just that, do not read any further than this series, because I think the first one's really the only one that's like Beauty and the Beast vibes. Then we have To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. I read this one this year. To Kill a Kingdom is another Ursula book. I'd say, unlike Part of Your World, where it's if Ursula won, this is actually the origin story of Ursula, how she became Ursula and things like that. But it's very different, I would say. So it kind of has a happier ending more than an Ursula story would. But I really enjoyed it nonetheless. We follow a character named Princess Lyra, who is Siren royalty, and she has to kill the prince because she wants to become the queen, and you can guess what happens from there. But I still really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it if you're looking for just all things Little Mermaid and all things Ursula. I also have a whole bunch that I still want to read because, like I said, there are so many fairy tale retellings, it's ridiculous. So one of the ones I still have to read is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. It's a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, which I've heard really good things about, so I still really want to read that. Then I have Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. This is a retelling of Anastasia. I don't know if that's technically a fairy tale, but either way, I still need to read it. It's been out for a while. I haven't read it. And the last one I really want to read that does not come out until January of 2019 is A Curse So Dark and Lonely. This is another Beauty and the Beast retelling. This is by Bridget Camara. I'm planning to read this because it comes out next year. Another Ursula retelling that I still really want to read is Sea Witches by Sarah Henning. This is another recent release, and I don't know what it is this year about Ursula retellings, but I definitely still need to read it. There you have it. Those are some of my favorite fairy tale retellings. Like I said, the list continues on and on. I know I've missed a ton, but those are just the majority that I read, and a lot of them that I do want to read. So if you have any favorite fairy tale retellings, please leave them in the comments below. I am always looking for more because I just love them so. And again, thank you so much to Disney Book Group for sponsoring this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.